This is Jason J. Lewis, the voice of Superman on Justice League Action, and you're listening to the Krypton Report.
Up in the sky, look!
It's a bird!
It's a plane! It's the Krypton Report!
Welcome to the Krypton Report podcast, presented by the Southgate Media Group.
The All Things Kryptonian podcast, including Superman and Supergirl.
We discuss games, movies, cartoons, TV shows, and comics.
Krypton Report Pod can be found on Facebook, Twitter, Skype, YouTube, and Instagram.
And if you want to drop us a line, send it to kryptonreportpod@gmail.com.
We are on Patreon under Southgate Media Group.
And our official merch page is tpublic.com. Search Krypton Report.
Now on with the show.
Hey, we interrupt this specially broadcasted episode of the Krypton Report for a quick impromptu segue of a coworker of mine, Mike. We saw Brightburn together and just kind of quickly discuss it. Didn't want to dig too deep into it because not everybody's got a chance to see it here on the Krypton Report. So we're going to hear that, and then we'll get into our regular episode. So have a good one. All right, so this is a special recording, bringing you live from the break room at work because my coworker here, new voice to the show, Mr. Mike, brings you his opinions because him and I just went and saw Brightburn, and we're kind of fresh out of the movie here with thoughts. So we just thought we'd share our ideas. Mike, welcome to the impromptu phone in the break room show.
Awesome. Thanks, Tyler. It's nice to be here. So I'm gonna jump right into it. Overall, I'll give Brightburn a B-. Majority of the reason why is I love the character itself. I love that he has the powers. I love that he's able to shoot lasers out of his eyes, and I love the part of just him being completely possessed and pretty much not himself. One thing I don't like is the beginning kind of seemed a little slow. Didn't show enough, and with the beginning being a little slow, obviously add a little bit in there to just give us a little taste of what we're expecting, what's coming forth in the movie. Another thing I kind of liked as well is the shots of the home. It definitely brought us home to Smallville in Kansas, so that really hit home, really reminded me of back in the day, high school days, watching Smallville, so that's pretty awesome. How they pull that out, I'm not sure, but we'll see what happens in the future with that. The ending was pretty good as well. I won't touch on that. Let you guys tune in yourself and kind of tell us what you think about that, but the ending was definitely something I was not expecting, and hopefully we can get something a little different as well with hopefully something else coming out.
Well, I mean, the movie does set up its sequel. It does set up the idea of...
Anytime, guys.
We're doing a break. Hold on. And you said about Smallville, and my thought was, how is nobody getting sued over this movie? Because it's set in Kansas. It's not they even changed it up. They could have put it in Ohio just as a callback because the creators of Superman from Ohio. But no, it's in Kansas. Spaceship crashes. Boy can fly, super strength, indestructible, and heat vision, which are like the 4 core powers. No signs of X-ray vision and no signs of super hearing.
Correct.
Even the mask he wears, like I told you, is like the homemade mask he makes. It looks kind of a callback to Zod's armor mask.
Yes, I would call that.
And I mean, even some of the dialogue and situations, like not so much Superman, but like Man of Steel.
Yeah.
And I mean that like where the mom's saying like when we first found you, you had trouble breathing, you were weak and small. I mean that's almost directly what Martha said in Man of Steel to Clark. And I'm like, dag. The movie overall, it is a horror movie. I mean, straight up, like that's what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be like a superhero horror, and I think it's an interesting concept. And Superman's always been about nature versus nurture, like what his Kryptonian birth made him compared to the people he was raised by. And in this, I think they took that out of the equation by the way that his alien heritage is. And I'm trying not to be spoilerly here, so I'm kind of jumping around. So, because, I mean, they are good. They seem like good parents, loving parents. And not trying to be spoiled the film here, but it did seem at the beginning we didn't get enough time. Like I've thought over it more and more. I would have liked maybe a scene at the beginning of the parents with a negative pregnancy test, like just diving more into their relationship before him, the struggles of having kids, then he arrives, how it's a miracle, how it works for them. I mean, like it's the same beats as Ma and Pa Kent. And then I would have liked maybe another action scene of him terrorizing some kids at school. I think the biggest disservice that this movie has is only like 94 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, when it ended, you and I looked at each other like,
that's it?
What?
Yeah.
My wife asked me, what time do you think you'll be back? I'm like, I don't know. It's probably like 2 hours, something minutes. And I didn't even think to look at the time.
Hour 30, hour 40?
Yeah, I'm like, I didn't even think to look at the runtime because I'm like, oh, it'll, good 2 hour movie. And no, I mean, they kept it more in line with a horror film. And I think that did it a disservice.
Yeah.
I think because you were trying to make a layered horror film that would sit with someone in the same way like the superhero films sit with you. I mean, they're all, they take their time to develop. And I think that's what this movie, because there's a couple leaps in logic, like the joy on the child's face when he discovers his super strength. And then the next scene when he goes to get the lawnmower.
Yeah.
And just like this look on his face is like, it changed, like, okay, like I said, I'm not trying to get too spoilery.
Yeah.
But there is a nice little tease at the end. So if you do see it, watch through the credits. Not after the credits, but through the credits. That potentially sets up, basically, like I pointed out to you, an evil Justice League.
And that'll be massive.
There's like three like drawings of this conspiracy theorist guy talking. One looks like it could be Martian Manhunter.
Yeah.
One looks like Wonder Woman, and I didn't quite get to make out the other one. Those archetype characters. And I mean, I liked it. I think it's, I think the best thing that I heard someone say, and I don't want to take credit for this, but I can't remember who it was Brightburn should prove to people how important Superman is.
I agree.
The fact that, he was raised correctly, and we all know that we are raised a certain way, but at a point we can make choices on our own and change those values. Do we hold those true? Do we change it? There's even a part in Brightburn where someone's typing and says truth and justice in the modern era. Yeah. And I almost said, why didn't they just say the modern way? But that would have been maybe too like on the nose. But and with that, I think, it's like Superman is a character that he has all these powers and all these abilities, and he feels the same way. But he chooses to help and to do good. And of course, there's been offshoot stories where he is the overlord, and all those take time to develop why he goes down that path. But for the most part, those are just one-offs. And the core character is he's here to help and do good, and serves to be an example of what he was raised to believe. And I mean, some of my favorite Superman stories, like we said about Smallville, was before he has the costume, when he's just a person and he's being a man that's super, that he's doing good. And I think that's with Brightburn, it wasn't bad. I don't want to say I was disappointed, because I really didn't know what I was expecting, but I think I just kind of left thinking, that could have been more. And a lot of that goes to just these scenes that you can kind of see. And I've had like in some of my episodes, I've had a thing where I've done some writing exercises and some classwork and stuff where you can see plotting of characters and development. And even with Supergirl this season, I've mentioned I've had issues with where I feel like instead of developing stuff, they just kind of take short writing tricks in the characters. Yeah. And I feel like with Brightburn, certain beats, like if I just said to you, the parents are struggling with pregnancy, it's there, but it's so quick. Like, it's like the opening shot.
Yeah.
Of them talking about trying to, this is it, let's do it now, we're going to make a baby. And it's like, it's all there, but it's so, like, check the box quick. Like, I would have liked a little bit more struggle with Brandon, the main character. with is he evil or is it what happens to him in the film that makes him evil? Is it out of his control, or does he have some control over it? And I personally feel like that's never quite answered and explored.
Yeah, we never got that. We never really got that. Just during the beginning, it's almost as if he was in and out of it, as if he could have a little control. But then once something took over, it seems like there was nothing else that could be done.
And there's a couple things about the character that aren't exactly explained. You have to kind of infer why he did what he did. And there's an in-film explanation for what he is. And I think it was cool, but a little on the nose, one of those things where you're like, why are they talking about this? That seems awfully coincidental, but it's a way of giving exposition. But if you're interested in Brightburn or talking more about it, I know it's been divisive among Superman fans, and it's kind of interesting because it's not even Superman. It's so close, and even the iconography is so Man of Steel-like that people are talking about. So we just thought we'd talk about it here. But that's going to wrap up our quick Brightburn discussion with Mike here. Thanks, Mike, for just sitting here in the break room chatting.
Thanks for having me.
Anytime, man. Anytime. Welcome to the Krypton Report. We are going to be discussing today the end. We're just going to do a season wrap-up, sort of DC Universe's latest live-action series, Doom Patrol. And when I say we, what I really mean is James. And I'm just going to listen, because I'll tell you what, right now, James has been so thrilled with Doom Patrol. He has wanted to talk so much, and I'm like, yes, we need to record this, but we just get busy. Life happens. So without further ado, I'm going to pass this segue off and let James start it off as we talk about Season 1 of Doom Patrol.
All right, well, I have loved Doom Patrol since the first episode. I probably watched the first episode like 5 times that first week. So the pilot was amazing. I thought it was a great introduction, had so much heart to it. And the show just kept rolling with so many great character moments for every member of the Doom Patrol. And when you want to talk about like DC's weirdest show, like Doom Patrol holds it. Nothing else holds a candle to it.
I mean, this is just weird, period. I mean, we'll say this. Doom Patrol, if you haven't seen it or don't know, is the adult mature show. Okay? That is the best way of saying that, but it's also the most, well, he said, crazy, weird, what the heck show there is.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you got Mr. Nobody, who played by Alan Tudyk, who was amazing as the narrator and the villain of the season, popping in and out, breaking the fourth wall, living in the white space, the empty space inside your comic book.
Old comic books. There's not really white space anymore.
Yeah, there's not really white space anymore.
You have Danny,
not too many.
Danny the
transporting gender queer street. That's
alive. I don't even know how to like explain Danny.
Yeah, it's a sentient street. Somehow the entire street is Danny. The road, the buildings, the signs. I mean, Danny communicates through all of the signs, through the perpetual cabaret sign, the board, so it displays stuff, windows, street signs, smoke in the air, whatever, what have you. I mean,
I will say this about Doom Patrol. I like season 1. We haven't got any talk about a season 2. It makes me kind of frustrated when I feel like they're giving us these characters, but they've not really established themselves as the Doom Patrol. It's like all building to being the team, building to do this, development.
Kind of sounds like Titans season 1.
Yes. or as we refer to it as part 1.
Yeah, pretty much.
And you're just kind of waiting because you don't know if you're ever going to get this again, or if you're ever going to get the next part, you know? So if in one respect, like I am nowhere near like an advocate Doom Patrol reader or fan of the comics, but it's like, you know, if you are, I don't know if you would be excited or upset because you never get to see Negative Man really be Negative Man or Elastigirl be Elastigirl. That's all pre them becoming that. And
right. Yeah, there's no official talk of a season 2 yet. Nothing that's been said or speculated. The hosts on DC Daily, they have talked about season 2, but it's not like anything was officially greenlit or anything. So I'm sure they're expressing their hope in a season 2 because Doom Patrol, I mean, even the people, most of the stuff out there, even the people who it's not for them, they don't crap on the show. They're more just it's just like, it's not for me, you know, the show, the characters, it doesn't appeal to their sensibilities. But not many people are like crapping on the show, but everybody who likes it loves it. So that's what I've seen. And yeah, it's just amazing talent across the board. Brendan Fraser, I never would have thought I'd hear so many cuss words coming out of that guy's mouth in every single episode.
I started cussing in my head like Brendan Fraser just because it was awesome. I'm like, man, when I get angry, I just picture Brendan Fraser losing his junk.
Right. Diane Guerrero as Crazy Jane was
She's amazing.
Awesome. Yeah.
She is amazing in this. And, you know, she also did the voice of Jessica Cruz in Justice League vs. the Fatal Five. I'm just like, you know what? Just let her be live action Jessica Cruz.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see it. April Bowlby as Rita Farr. She was great. She took that 1950s actress to heart. Like she always never broke character. It was great. And Matthew Bomer as Negative Man. So awesome. I love the entire show.
I mean, the casting is great from top to bottom. The casting is amazing.
You know, even in probably like the slower episodes, which was the Cult Patrol and the Paw Patrol, which was kind of the slowest part of the season, I feel. You know, some of the elements of those episodes, one mainly being Mark Sheppard as Willoughby Kipling, was great. Mark Sheppard is awesome. I loved him in everything. I mean, X-Files, Firefly, Supernatural.
Oh, he was great.
Anything I've seen him in, I've never had a complaint about Mark Sheppard.
I just feel like there was episodes that really were dealing with what was going on, and then we went on this really weird side tangent, and then we came back to the story we wanted to tell. And there's a couple things in it if we go, you know, if we really wanted to discuss like every episode, we could, but it just felt like there were some times where they slowed it down too much that I feel like I was just getting certain themes that were being rehashed.
Yeah.
And certain things I don't think were explained well enough to where I felt afterwards like, wait, are they saying this or is this what this is? And I'd have to go back through and watch it and tell you exactly what, but there's a couple of things that just kind of felt like they left too much for you to infer.
Yeah, there's still a few things that I kind of feel they left hanging a little bit.
Well, it's one thing to leave something hanging where you're going to pick it up. There's another thing when I just felt like it was just they like, oh, they'll understand, and we didn't get it.
Right. Or maybe it's kind of left because it is also comic book science. So it's just kind of suspend your disbelief to believe what's going on. But as it comes to the show and all the episodes, the way it built and developed, every character had their own journey. Like every character this season had their own hero's journey to go from where they were completely broken and selfish to being more of a selfless person, and to do things for the greater good. They started doing that as the season progressed, with summoning the Recreator, stopping an apocalypse,
and that was that was like so much so fast that it was just like, holy cow.
Yeah.
I like Jane Patrol, where that was probably maybe my favorite episode.
Where they went to the underground.
Yeah, they went like basically inside Jane.
Mm-hmm.
I know what my least favorite was, and I don't want to talk about it because it'll make me sick.
It's a disgusting episode.
Yes. We'll just give you the name.
Hair Patrol.
Yep.
Yeah. The Beard Hunter. Oh my God.
That's all we're going to say. Honestly, like, it's disgusting.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about it, really.
So
it is very cringy. But yeah, they all the characters got a lot of development. They got a lot of growth throughout the season, dealing with everything. And it's kind of funny. Like they all had issues stemming from children or from childhood. Like Rita Farr, she was forced into being acting. She couldn't even use her real name since she was a child. Her story of a young actress getting pregnant and her never knowing what happened to the baby, guilt that was being used against her. Larry, with his kids, he lost his children, he lost his boys and never got to see them again. Cliff, his daughter, he was, believed to be dead. She lost both her parents. She was orphaned. Crazy Jane, her problems that stemmed from childhood, protecting her inner child, Kay. It was kind of interesting how all of that actually built up to the season finale of them having to save Niles Calder's daughter, saving the chief's daughter.
Yep, that they never knew existed.
Yeah, which funny enough, so her name is Dorothy Spinner, and I looked up a little bit of information on her, and apparently she basically can warp reality. She can change reality. She can bring her imaginary friends to life and give them the powers that she manifests for them. So back to the Beard Hunter episode, the little doll that the Beard Hunter found, I am pretty positive that is a doll chief imaginary friend brought to life by Dorothy.
That makes a lot of sense.
Because I watched that, I was like,
and you had to look that up.
Yeah.
To get that clarity, and that's what I'm saying. Like that's where I feel like.
Well, they didn't introduce the daughter until the very end, and they didn't even explain her powers. Looking it up, I had to look it up, and it kind of made that doll thing make sense. And also the fact, From what I read, they didn't show her face. They obviously haven't cast her or anything yet, but they also didn't do anything with her because she's like disfigured almost. She's like, she looks more like the cave woman. So apparently it's like the daughter of Niles and the cave woman that he got an episode with. And I don't know if that's particularly canon in the comics, because I have never read a Doom Patrol comic. So
me neither.
I have never read one, which I'm going to, because it sounds incredibly interesting. And I heard that I watched an episode of DC Nation DC Daily, where they were talking to the actor who played Flex Mentallo, and Grant Morrison wrote a 4-part story about Flex Mentallo, and that is also available on DC Universe. And I want to go read that because they made it sound really good. At least they hyped it up. So
I mean, I agree. So I that, see, like I said, that was one of the things that made me feel awkward was, what is this? Basically looked like Niles called her the dummy from Saw.
Right.
So
and I wouldn't have gotten that if I didn't read up on who Dorothy was, and just to find out, because they did say, the strongest little girl in the world, and the most powerful little girl in the world.
So
yeah, so I mean, incredibly interesting show, very fun, very funny, full of heart,
full of language.
Full of language, lots of language. A little bit of nudity throughout the show, but
which is a funny story. So, the first episode, of course, we see Brendan Fraser's naked behind, and we see a woman topless. And Jania started that episode with me and fell asleep in it. Okay. And then I kept wanting her to watch it with me, and she's always too busy, so I just watched it without her. I'm like, look, I can't wait around for you. Okay. So I'm watching the last episode or the second to last episode, where Mr. Nobody puts everyone back into like a moment they had where they could change to make a decision. And it's Brendan Fraser banging that chick again. Mm-hmm. And it's the same scene, so she's topless again. And that's when Jania walks in, and she's like, this show has so much nudity in it. And I'm like, actually, no, it has 2 scenes, and you just happen to be present for both of them. And that's how you know she's a mom. Okay. Side note, she's already got that mom instinct down. Like, I don't know about you when you were little, but like, I could be watching a movie picked one from the video store, or like watching one on like cable, and nothing happens. And then the moment my mom walks in is like, boom, when there's like the nude scene. And she's like, what are you watching? And you're like, I don't know. It just happened. Like,
right.
So, yeah, I just think it's hilarious. But it is Doom Patrol. It is good. I mean, if you're comfortable with that.
Yeah. If you ever wanted to see an entire street and like 80 people on the street all having an orgasm at the same time, this show's for you.
That's the tagline. That's the tagline to sell it.
Yeah.
The one character that's not part of the Doom Patrol in the comics that they did for the series, which I find fascinating, especially if they want to maybe lead it into something, because we know that Beast Boy is supposed to be part of the Doom Patrol, and they've been very iffy with when Doom Patrol takes place with the Titans episode, if they're connected or that's like a different world Doom Patrol compared to the one that we're getting in this series. I just like to think they're all the same, because I really hate trying to keep breaking stuff up in my mind and keeping stuff separate.
I mean, it's like, it's, I don't see the issue of it all being in the same world, because they don't ever have to cross paths, because 90% of the time all these random characters don't cross paths. It's only the big groups of the large teams of people that come together, the big names that always come together. You know what I mean? So all these random people, they rarely or almost never cross paths. But in the first episode of Doom Patrol, one of the highlights of crime or whatever that Vic was looking at, because he was in Michigan too, and in Traverse City, Michigan, or he was in Detroit, but in Traverse City, Michigan was where Raven's mother was killed. And that was a highlight on the crimes list, but that was the only thing that connected Doom Patrol to Titans. And honestly, you know, just doing that is enough for me. It does not have to be like, oh, because Titans and Doom Patrol are in the same universe, well, they have to, you know, be a team at some point, even in one episode, and stop something. Like, they never have to meet, besides the one time they did in the Doom Patrol episode on Titans. Mm-hmm. So honestly, like, I get the idea, and I love the continuity of a shared universe, the MCU, the CW Arrowverse. You know, I love where all these things can be connected, but they don't have to cross paths on a regular basis. And people think like that's the only way that they can be connected, that they can exist in the same world, is they have to cross paths. Well, no.
I just would like it to be, you know, something a little simpler, and yeah, I just want something a little simpler.
Yeah. Well, you did bring up Cyborg.
That's where I was going.
Which I thought
Cyborg is like the linchpin character that could bridge, like if you wanted to connect back to Titans or anything, it could help bridge the series.
Right, because we're getting Titans season 2, and Joe Von Wade is Cyborg in Doom Patrol, and to my knowledge, they've maybe started production on Titans season 2.
They've kept
they might have
under wraps.
Yeah, they said that they were going to start like in the spring, and then I heard it was put off for a short time, but I think they said only for like a month or two, maybe. I can't remember positively what it was, but it didn't say an indefinite set of time. Like, it was still going to happen. So with Doom Patrol being over, the season being done, they obviously wrapped a long time ago. He could easily be introduced into Titans, and he could continue on, and that would actually tie them right together, and he wouldn't even have to mention all this stuff he did with the Doom Patrol and fighting Mr. Nobody and a rat and a cockroach making out. I mean, you wouldn't have to talk about all that. But it'd be awesome to see a live action Cyborg with a Titans team.
It would be.
So I'm loving everything that DC Universe is doing. So I am definitely here for all of the original content.
I agree. I am too. So that's Doom Patrol, kind of in a nutshell.
Go watch it.
Go watch it.
Now you can binge it.
Yeah, go binge it. I mean, that's kind of like, part of me is always falls under that, like, do I want to watch it while it's on or binge it? But then I have messages from you and from Phil and from my friend Mike, like, did you watch it yet? And Brian.
I grew up with appointment television.
I'm like, yeah, so did I. So I mean, it's one of those things that, like, I'm not unaccustomed to. Part of me is just like, man, I want to watch it straight.
Right. So yeah, I mean, I grew up on appointment television, and I'm fine with it, especially since it's constant, since they have a constant flow going on. It's not even like there's a season and then everything stops. There's a constant flow of new content with this. So it always just keeps coming. So, every Friday there's something new to watch. Mm-hmm. So I think that helps. But having to tune in every Friday for it. And you can still watch it at your leisure. You don't have to watch it every Friday, but if you skip a couple of weeks and then you do a couple of episodes, but yeah, I have no problem with the every week dropping a new episode. I kind of like it because, the binge model, everything like the Netflix shows, the Marvel Netflix shows, I binged all of the seasons that had come out. The majority of them, I haven't watched the latest couple, but all the stuff I had watched previously, I haven't gone back and watched again.
Yeah.
I binged it all, and then I've never gone back to watch it again. I've watched Titans again. I've watched Doom Patrol already again. So I've watched Young Justice again.
I don't know what it is. I think some way it's in the way the stories are paced and told that I just, even though they're really great, and I don't know. It's like there's just so much story, and it's like there's not a lot of fun in it that I don't feel like taking that ride again. I'm just like, let's. I'm.
Well, at least with Doom Patrol, there was a lot of laughs. So we'll see where we go, and then we got Swamp Thing coming. So
all right, and Swamp Thing we will talk about once we all get the chance to watch that and it gets going.
Yeah,
because as of this recording, I still haven't because of time and just trying to not watch it with the children.
Right. Yeah, no, you can't really watch Swamp Thing with the children. I've watched it 3 times. I don't know. First time almost doesn't count because I watch it at work on my phone because I'm impatient. But
that he is. I made a promise to my wife to watch it with her. I at least give her the benefit of watching the first episode with me. If she doesn't want to keep going, it's fine. I'll just pull a Doom Patrol.
Right. So yeah, but then I watched it later Friday night, I think, at home on TV, which is, that time counts. And then just watched it again before we recorded.
So James, I think it's now time for us to venture on and search, like all good knights, for a quest.
The reason why we're here.
What kind of quest should we go on, James?
A quest for peace.
Noblest of quests. Noblest of quests. All right, James, so let's go on our quest for peace. And no, we're not talking about Superman 4. We're talking about the last episode of the Supergirl Season 4. Get it? Season 4, Superman 4?
That's funny.
So, give us the quick summary, James.
Okay, Quest for Peace is Lex Luthor's plan has come to fruition, where he's had Kaznia attack the United States, and he in turn has turned and stopped Kaznia and the Red Daughter, who is a clone of Supergirl, and he uses her to discredit Supergirl and basically, say that it is her when he takes her down, to become to get a full pardon, and uses all of his resources that he's gained so far, which we've discussed on numerous on a few other episodes, since he's only been in 3 this season, to come up with a plan to destroy Superman. He wants to blow up Argo City and kill Superman when he has no powers.
And that sounds like Lex.
Yeah. And then Ben Lockwood has his abilities, and he wants to get revenge for being manipulated, as well as, use his abilities to take down Supergirl, because she is still an alien, and to him, aliens are still the enemy.
So, first thing, I feel so rewatching this episode, and when we watched rewatching Red Dawn. I wish they wouldn't have kind of like pretty much told us what Lex was going to do in Red Dawn about Kashnia, and just let us be shocked about it. You know?
Yeah, I can see that.
Instead of being like, oh, he's going to betray him, just all of a sudden watching it and then seeing that he betrays them, you know, like was like,
right.
Oh, so much more of just like, oh my gosh, he really is a Lex Luthor, that dick, you know, like,
right.
But I mean, that's that. It was great seeing the exosuit, the Lexo suit. Full on Lex Luthor. But here's something I thought about as I was rewatching the episode. Lex is a redhead. Why isn't his beard red?
Yeah, well, you know, Lois Lane is a brunette. Why is Amy Adams' hair red?
Yeah, but they did put Lois Lane as a redhead during the comics at a weird time where, you know, during the death, she was redheaded in the comics. So I'll at least give them that.
Right. Let's see.
Lex got his presidential pardon, which makes sense.
Yeah. So the beginning of this episode is actually like an overlap of the Red Dawn, because at the end of Red Dawn, they have a news broadcast and where the president thanks Luthor for what he did. Well, in the beginning of this episode, it shows Kara escaping, and then it shows Red Daughter going to Lex, talking to Lex sending her after Eliza, and then Kashnia attacking, and Lex Luthor doing what he can to stop them, blowing up their ships and their missiles, and while he's singing, what's that song? I Did It My Way.
By Frank Sinatra's My Way. Yep.
Yes.
And of course, I love, you know, John Favreau is sitting around somewhere like, hey, can we sue them? Can I get a cut of them using my Iron Man effect in their little suits here, the helmet? And I came up with that. Like, can I get some royalties on this? Solomon, stop messing with my posters.
Right. The suit going around them, the heads up display.
Yeah, the heads up display especially. Like, we get it for Luthor and we get it for Kara when she's in her space suit thingy, kryptonite proof. I just said krypton. Man, I've been watching Superman the movie again. But my favorite was Lex Luthor with his gauntlet when he asked the worker to stand still and just blows him away. Like, I mean, that's just a dick move.
Yeah, well, you know, John Cryer's Lex Luthor, I mean, gold star, man. He is fantastic.
So where does he fall?
So it's pretty darn close. I mean, it's a run for the money when you talk about Lex Luthor, because the top two right now are definitely Michael Rosenbaum and John Cryer. The thing with Michael Rosenbaum, he got to be Lex Luthor a lot longer. He did a great job as Lex Luthor, but he was also more like your pre-Lex Luthor. It wasn't until the later seasons where he kind of started to really make that villainous turn. A lot of the stuff he did early on, it was kind of hinted at, you know what I mean? It was left intentionally ambiguous to if some of these things he might have done. And the one thing that I always kind of didn't feel, the one minor detail from Rosenbaum's Lex Luthor was everybody did all he had workers and scientists and everybody do the majority of all of the work. Now you have to delegate, you have to do this stuff. They didn't show him doing a lot of work. You know what I mean? He didn't put in a lot of the time figuring out the problems. He was definitely a genius and maniacal, but he didn't do. He kept his hands clean in like so much of the time. Like he did very little of the scientific work. They did hide some of that type of genius for his character, for his version.
And I think the thing is, like you just said, he was early Lex. And
yeah.
Had Rosenbaum, let's say, stopped being Lex at season 4, and that's where the show ended, you would kind of refer to him as like, yeah, he was great, but was he really Lex?
Mm-hmm.
But he got to pursue, and then the way the show ends, it is easier to form that to form an idea that, with the way that spoilers, he's like a clone type thing at the end, that he could have increased IQ and everything, and the Lex that appears in the end moving forward could be more of the genius scientist. We don't know, because that's where it stopped,
Yeah.
even into the the comics after that. So
right. So the one thing that Cryer has, and in such a short time, he got to be 100% full on supervillain Lex Luthor. Like, he was not hiding who he was, being a criminal. He did manipulate things to seem a certain way, but he was in prison. He was in prison for crimes against humanity. He was very evil. He killed a lot of people, and he was very, very good. He was a fully formed, late in his career, Lex Luthor, and he's the only one who's been that Lex Luthor. Mm-hmm. And doing the science, the intelligence, the manipulation, all that stuff, and then being so evil. Like that's the one thing that Cryer has on Michael Rosenbaum. So they are both actually really great. They are my two favorite Lex Luthors.
Mine too. All right, what's your third?
My third, that's tough. I mean, Gene Hackman was great and did what he was supposed to do. Kevin Spacey, I like Kevin Spacey because he was pretty evil when he made Hackman's version more evil than he had been previously.
Yeah. My thing with Spacey is I feel like he didn't get to develop his version. Like, it was kind of like it had to be based off the Hackman version.
So and then probably John Shea.
John Shea is my third.
Yeah.
And I love Hackman, but in a lot of ways, to me, Hackman doesn't feel like Lex. Because the character of Lex that I read and kind of related to through the animated series, even though I saw the movie, was more that Lex, and the movie Lex was not that Lex because he hadn't been written that way yet. So he's definitely he's the remnants of the old version.
Yeah, he was definitely still, old comic book, mad scientist type. I mean, how can you got to put in Jesse Eisenberg too? I enjoyed a lot of the aspects. The portrayal was definitely something new and eccentric.
I mean,
so I'm not going to discredit Eisenberg's character.
Hey, if we're going to go there, we got to talk about the Lexus from Superboy, because there was two of them, Sherman Howard being one, and Scott. I want to starts with an L, I think. Dang it, hold on. Like, his Lex was completely weird, but he still was Lex.
I haven't delved into much of Superboy yet, so.
the season 1 Lex Luthor was crap. No, anyways, give me just a minute.
Yeah.
I was pulling it up and I just had to help Solomon. Scott Wells.
Okay.
So moving on, because there's a lot. We're going to get sidetracked a lot. We get Lex in the White House. He brings in his mom and Lena. Lena gets an invite to the White House. And Lex gets a great 3 Luthors in the White House. And he makes a quote, and his wife says, "You shouldn't quote Hitler," which was kind of funny to hear her say. We get him referring to about the man of yesterday. And we learn that Lex's mom really does hate him and poisoned his tea.
Yep. Which, interestingly enough, Lex proves to be somewhat sentimental when it comes to family, because he says that he couldn't bring himself or bear to kill Lillian or Lena. Which, skipping down to the end, Lena has no such reservation.
Okay, let's just skip to the end. Like, we're just going to bounce in. So Lena, I think, has the hardest arc in this episode, because Lena steps up and does what no one else could do, and Lena does it to protect her friends, and she shoots and kills Lex, which I think is a great way in this series to end Lex, and to allow Lena's character growth to help her move out of that shadow. So now we're not always talking about, oh, why isn't Lex doing this or Lex doing that? They're able to end that character in a positive way for the story. But Lex's last trick was to reveal to Lena that Kara Danvers is Supergirl and has been lying to her. And then that sets Lena up now to go on a villainous path. Or what does she do?
Yeah.
And she feels betrayed because, right before here, she's talking about Eve, Tessmacher, and feeling like she was betrayed by her and all that she had done. And, now, where is Lena going to fall? Like, his car at the end is talking to Alex that she wants to tell her, and...
Yeah, it's it's definitely like a betrayal of trust. That they, for everything that she's done, that Lena has done for them and for everybody, that they didn't trust her with that. Like she has tried to prove time and time again that she wasn't like Lex, but the only way that she's going to be able to see everybody lying to her, not trusting her, is they didn't trust her because she's a Luthor, because of her last name. That's the way that they're going to write it, that's the way that she is going to end up viewing that. And in turn, they're not looking at her as a person. She's going to feel betrayed because they weren't looking at her as a person, as who she is. They were looking at her as a name and, lying to her.
Mm-hmm. So it's going to be...
So that's even
interesting 5th season.
Yeah. So that's even more of a betrayal than, just lying to them. Kind of like just telling a random person that you're not, you are who you are. You're not Supergirl, like in Smallville, Clark not telling people to protect them. You know what I mean? Kind of the same scenario with Lex Luthor, not telling him because he's a Luthor, when Lex would constantly, especially early on, you feel like Lex would probably have been more of a friend to him if he'd have been honest. But
that's the that's the battle, because I think there's times where you wanted him to tell, but then there's times where Lex just does some shady stuff where you're like,
it's probably better he doesn't know.
Yeah. So
I mean, with Lena, it's even further along,
right?
It's in a further.
You have the name, just like you said, the name issue.
Yeah, like everything she's done, Lena is Kara's best friend. They've said that more often than not, that Kara and Lena, they are best friends.
Which is
and they refer to each other. So
which is
the fact
great.
that
I just
she
like
would
to see some more best friend stuff. I think they do a good job. But I think sometimes, like, I hate in shows with Chubby, oh, that's my best friend, but you don't ever see them getting to do best friend stuff. I feel like they're doing a really good job of trying to make like Lena and Kara best friends. More so than the way Clark and Lex were on Smallville.
Right. So yeah, I mean, they refer to each other as best friends, but she's like, I'm your best friend. I've done all of this, I've tried to step out of the Luthor shadow and make that name mean something other than what it does. All the good that she's done and tried to do, and trying to be honest with her friends and things like that. Yeah, she's going to see that as more of a betrayal than because that's exactly what it is. They couldn't trust her just because of a name, not for who she is.
And like Alex now has her memories back. And that's
which was pretty cool this episode when Kara takes off her glasses and she's like, God, I've missed that.
Yes. And so that is back. So it's not like they can be like, oh, Alex doesn't know.
Yep. So yeah, it was a very good episode. So yeah, Alex knows. Let's see. Luthor tries to dispatch Ben Lockwood, tries to have him killed, but that doesn't happen because he's got superpowers. Ben goes to Shelley Island, where Luthor has taken a bunch of aliens and locked them away to like drain their power to power his Claymore satellite, which he's going to use to destroy Argo City.
Which is very interesting. Why is my phone acting weird? It's popping up here. I'm trying to read my notes. Also, so let's talk real quick. Lockwood's he's hyped on hair now. He's ready to go down. He's ready to just go out, and he gets a fist brawl. Him and his men meet, like you said, on Shelley Island with
Supergirl,
Alex.
Jimmy, and Kara and Alec.
Yep.
Yeah.
Supergirl and Kara are the same person?
Yes. Wait a second.
Like, wait a minute. I just said 4, and there's only 3. I was just looking at my son here. Looks like he's about to fall asleep.
Both my kids fell asleep in my bed. I got to carry them upstairs, both of them.
The joys of being a parent. But so they do that, and they use the extractor to get the hair nail out while Supergirl goes and fights Lex. And Lex has a great scene where he's like showing he's got like a kryptonite suit. And then Kara just turns on her special anti-kryptonite suit. And Lex gets mad.
Yeah. Something we were we were talking about, we brought up how Red Daughter, how she was naive in the way she defended Lex and fought for Lex, and Lex even brought, and we said the way that she could have found out who he is, and Lex even said that himself. If you wanted to, you could have looked me up and found out who I was, that I hate Kryptonians. And like, yeah, he used her for what he needed her for, and then basically was using her again to destroy more Kryptonians.
Mm-hmm.
So I still feel that the Red Daughter was underutilized this season. I mean, she was like the big cliffhanger leaving season 3 going into season 4. And then, she, for the majority of the entire season, she was a scene here or there in a handful of episodes, until a few episodes here in the end of the season, from House of L to Red Dawn and the season finale. She was just relegated to a small plot device. Like, they could have, like I said before, they could have gotten rid of some of the heavy-handed politics in this season. I mean, it was so easy to see how much politics influenced this season. But I mean, that's what they focused on, instead of telling a more compelling character story. They decided to do something like Red Daughter and then didn't know what to do with her.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel she was very underutilized, but she gave Supergirl a power boost when she was blasted with kryptonite and died, and then reabsorbed into Supergirl.
And that was something I thought was really interesting, like the reabsorption.
How it just happened.
Yeah, but it felt like she was reabsorbed, but Kara wasn't affected. It's not like, oh, part of me was missing. It was just like, oh, here I am.
Yeah, now I got a power boost.
It was interesting. So I think it was good. We saw Jean, Brainy, and Dreamer. Basically, Brainy gets back to his regular self. He realigns, and we see him basically confess his love to Dreamer. And they risk overloading the system to shut it down, so that they stop, Lex's powerful weapon was destroying Argo City. And what do you call it? Excuse me. So with that, that kind of sums up them. And we have a little bit of, it looks like Alex and Jimmy's sister are now in a relationship, or starting a relationship, which I think works in a storytelling. It's a little contrite, but it works.
Yeah, I mean, since she showed up, she spent all of her time with Alex. So.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Like it works. It's a little too perfect there, but it works. And
it's not like it came out of nowhere, but yeah.
We learned that Eve has been working for Leviathan, which, how do you feel about that?
Well, I know very little about Leviathan. I know
all of us do.
I know what's new. Yeah, I know that Leviathan is pretty new from what I understand. I mean, I don't know. I heard that it's a Talia al Ghul organization, and I think it came up before, but I don't know how long ago. But I know it's a big event because they actually just came out with the first issue of Leviathan Rising, and it was introduced in Bendis's run of Action Comics here. So I don't know anything about it prior. So, what does that mean for the forthcoming season? I have no clue.
I didn't even know if it was something prior. Because the only time I hear about it's the whole Bendis thing. So it's just one of those things. Like, I was a little disappointed because the way it starts out, I was hoping it was Granny Goodness, especially with the next season and the Crisis and everything. And then we got a shot of Jimmy after fighting with an eye patch, looking very, Nick Fury Olsen. So that was
I saw that. Lost his eye, or got his eye damaged or something. I don't know. I thought it would be pretty cool if, Granny Goodness and the female Fury showed up. That would be a pretty good foil for Supergirl. With Harrenelle and Lena, quite possibly taking that evil turn this season. I mean, are we going to see, is it Ultra Woman? Maybe.
I'm glad they didn't end it with in that same thought, Lena opening up a thing and injecting herself with Harrenelle, and that's how it ended. Where it's
Yeah, she's definitely upset. She cracked the picture frame of her and the girls.
So we're gonna see where that goes, and then, man, I don't get tired until we just start chatting. Then I'm like, relaxed.
So are we?
Cliffhanger is we see dead Lex.
Okay. Crisis tease.
This is out of the 4 shows of the Arrowverse. All 3 of them had something with the Monitor, other than the Flash. Flash's is teased a different way, but we have the Monitor pick up. Lex's dead body and take it with him. Makes me wonder,
Yeah, he shows up and does his lighting effect towards Lex's dead body, and that's kind of how we end. But before that, the Monitor brings Jean's brother to Earth, another Martian.
And what's his name? What's his name?
I believe it's Malafa'ak.
It is, because that's John's twin brother.
Okay.
Malafa'ak.
Yeah, I know I had brought him up before. We had talked about having, more things for John to do, and Malafa'ak being one of them. So I'm happy to say that I said that was coming down the line. So that's awesome. He brought Malafa'ak to Earth, so that could be some interesting twists. I mean, Martians have some cool powers with their shape-shifting and psychic abilities, so he could definitely cause some problems next season. So I don't know why the Monitor would bring him to Earth and do what he did there, but
the Monitor is just so interesting because he's so outside of everything that he just does what he wants to do to see how it plays out.
Right.
And that's why I'm kind of curious about what's going to happen with the Crisis, what they're going to do.
Yeah.
But any final thoughts on this episode, season 4?
I mean, season 4 as a whole, I wish they would have done more with Red Daughter
and the Elite,
and the Elite,
or you
definitely.
had Red Daughter join the Elite. I feel like I got cheated on the Elite, but
I think the major thing that we got cheated on with the Elite is Manchester Black. I think the rest of them did a really good job. I mean, when they just took out Menagerie in the 1 episode, and then so here or there, I guess the entire Elite kind of got screwed a little bit, but definitely Manchester. He got shortchanged. They went way too heavy on the politics this season. They could have done more stuff with different characters and gotten rid of some of that political filler. Mm-hmm. I mean, we saw it over and over and over and over again this season of just, the bigotry towards aliens. I mean, they hammered it home like you needed to see it every single week. Like it could have easily been played in the background in so many of those episodes while they were doing other things with different characters. Manchester Black, Red Daughter.
And like I said to you before, like, I don't mind when it reflects the world that we live in, but I get tired of when I feel like I'm watching this to escape, when I feel like it's being too on the nose about what's happening in the real world.
Yeah, and for sure this season did.
Because
big time.
If I wanted to watch stuff about the real world, I would watch like the news. Yeah.
Like you could literally watch a handful of specially picked episodes out of this season. If you watched half a dozen to 10 episodes out of this season, specially picked episodes, you would get the entire season and understand from point A to point Z to Z. You know what I mean? You would understand A to Z of this season with less than half of the episodes. Just because there was so much of that political filler, you know? Like if somebody did an edit for this season and just pulled stuff from episodes all over the place, you could do like 8 hours and you'd get the entire season.
You probably could, like, you know. But what would you rate this episode?
This episode, I thought this episode was fantastic. There was a lot of good in this episode. You know, I mean, we didn't talk a whole lot about Sam Witwer as Agent Liberty, but he's always awesome. He's always great to watch. John Cryer was fantastic. Lena, Kara, Alex, just a great episode this year and a good tease for the crisis and moving forward. Like you said, interesting about Leviathan. See what that turns out to be, since we don't even know much about what they come from.
Yeah, exactly. What
the source material.
I feel like that's just too new to be incorporated. Like that arc hasn't even finished in the comics. Like it'll be done by the time the season, but
yeah, it'll just be finishing up by the time the season kicks off next year. So I don't know. Maybe they're waiting to pull from the current comics to see what episodes they're gonna be writing into their episodes. But for the majority of this episode, I think this episode is at least a solid 8.5, if not a 9.
I agree. I'd say a 9. I think it does more good than anything else, and we get some very strong performances.
For sure.
All right. Well, that's going to wrap up season 4 of Supergirl. I mean, I can't believe it's already been 4 seasons.
Right.
We one more season to go. And it's just like, dang, like.
Yeah, see what season 5 is going to bring. We've got Crisis. Are we going to end up with One Earth next year?
That's what I
come
want.
The later half of the season.
That's just what I want. I think it'd be kind of fun to spend a season or whatever with One Earth and like I said before, the idea that when the Earths merge, you might get say like Barry from Earth 1, but then we get Caitlin from Earth 3. You know, it's like it, or we get, characters where all their personalities from all their Earths are shoved together. I don't know. There's a lot of cool story stuff that could be in there, and just to shake things up. So.
Right. Well, it'll be awesome to finally see World's Finest. Super character and Bat character.
Yeah, Supergirl and
done
Batwoman.
well.
Like that was teased.
Yeah.
So, and we'll see as things come out, about what to expect. We'll definitely talk about what's going to come.
Absolutely. And soon, next 2 weeks, not even, right? What's the date today?
Today's
second. 10 days, and we have Krypton season 2, episode 1. Starting on Sci-Fi.
So we will definitely be talking about that. And there's always something for us to talk about. geez, like I look at the list of things that we've had ideas of shows to talk about. I'm like, man, we don't even get around to them half the time because we have Supergirl going on, and then Krypton. We could talk forever.
Movies and then kids. We have lives that force us to not record when we want to.
And weather.
And weather, yes. The monsoon season, apparently, that is upon Ohio. Hasn't stopped raining all spring.
That is so true.
Look up in the sky.
Look up in the sky.
Look up in the sky.
You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook at Krypton Report. You can also email us at kryptonreportpod@gmail.com. If you get a chance to go over to iTunes, please leave us a review to help us get better.
If you're an Amazon shopper, just remember you can go to southgatemediagroup.com. There's a portal, log into Amazon, and you'll shop into your account just regular, but it also helps keep all the podcasts on and helps keep Southgate running. Remember, look up in the sky.